Cool.
Mr Chair.
The Honourable Todd McLean.
Mr Chair, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to take a call in this very important debate. Can I say to the last speaker in this debate, I particularly enjoyed his speech. I haven't had an opportunity to hear him for a little while, and in particular the parts that I think were most relevant with those statistics, Mr Chair, because it's hard to argue with the cold, hard facts. Our economy grew by 3.5% in the calendar year 2014, the best performance in the economy since September 2007. And we expect average growth rates of about 3% over the next 5 years. When one compares that to many other countries of the world that we have a close relationship with and countries that we trade with, indeed countries that New Zealanders were going to in significant numbers in 2007, 2008, but we now find them returning home, we're doing extremely well. So better growth rates projected, Mr Chair, than the Euro area, than the US, the UK, Japan, Canada, and of course Australia. Annual core government spending has increased by just 14% now compared to when we came to office 6 years ago. And indeed, over the 9 years of the previous Labor government, increase in spending was around 50%. So that's hard-working New Zealanders getting out of bed every day, going out to work, going to their jobs, paying their taxes, not spending anywhere near as much in their own households, on their families, their children, on the things that we want them to do, but the government, the Labor government, was ramping up expenditure, a 50% increase. Well, the Prime Minister and Bill English have very, very clearly focused on this, and a 14% increase, I'm coming to that in a moment, a 14% increase in government spending under extremely difficult financial circumstances when one considers the global financial crisis, the many other challenges not only the world's economy but New Zealand's economy face, I think is a testament to the focus. And we're approaching a surplus with net core debt to peak at 27% of GDP. Now, a member opposite asked earlier, what was the debt back then? Well, it's actually about the state that the books were left in when we came to government and the great challenge that went on around the world. So Treasury came out and Treasury said to us that if we kept on the reckless spending direction of the previous Labor government, something that the members opposite sound very proud of, ramp spending up, let the economy get carried away with itself. Don't worry too much about many of the macroeconomic indicators. Well, Treasury said that by 2020, debt would be at 60% of GDP, a whopping 60% of GDP. Well, through the focus and hard work of the government over the last 6 years on making sure that we are only spending money where we're able to, by focusing on public services and a better delivery of public services, and not only have we been able to get back on the track to a surplus, restrict debt to GDP to only 27%, but at the same time, Mr Chair, we've been able to spend more money in the areas that are important for all New Zealanders, in health and in education, and in certainly a very big investment in the social sector and particularly around social development, helping New Zealanders to help themselves much more than was the case previously and would be the case today if there had been a change of government at the last election. Very interesting, important, Mr Speaker, Mr Chairman, 80,000 jobs were created last year, 217,000 more people employed than was the case 5 years ago. Even though we've gone through very challenging and difficult circumstances, the unemployment rate today is 5.7%, still too high. 5.7%, but when one compares to what's happening in other countries and our very close neighbours, of which our economies are fairly closely interlinked, well, Australia is moving the other direction at 6.1% unemployment. And the most interesting thing here, Mr Chair, is the labour force participation rate has gone up to a record of 69.4%. Now, when we came to government 6 short years ago, New Zealanders were voting with their feet. And Ms Moroney knows this because she stood in the seat of Hamilton and most of her supporters deserted and went all the way off to Australia. The number of, do you remember the photographs of football field stadiums full of New Zealanders going to Australia? Well, they're coming back in great numbers. We have net migration is up now, and those New Zealanders are coming back to work because unemployment is holding its own and going down, and the participation rate of employment is on its way up.
Honourable Michael Woodhouse.